You've been lied to, not just by media, not just by romance, but by evolution itself. You were told that women are nurturing, soft, pure-hearted, that their love is unconditional, that their kindness comes without price. But Carl Jung, the man who explored the hidden corners of human nature, uncovered something far more disturbing. He didn't publish it. He buried it in his private notes, because even he knew the world wasn't ready to hear it. He wrote of a mask, a feminine persona, a performance so convincing most men never question it until it's too late. Jung believed that what lies beneath is not malice, not cruelty, but a force older than morality, older than love itself. A primal instinct to survive by any means necessary. If you've ever been confused by the sudden shift, the cold shoulder, the emotional withdrawal, you're not alone. You've seen her mask, but never her shadow, and once you do, you'll never look at love the same way again. Let's start with the truth Jung never dared to speak out loud. What if everything you believed about love, about connection, about female nature, wasn't just incomplete, but designed to keep you blind? In this video, we're going to uncover what Carl Jung discovered and deliberately kept out of public view. His most private writings didn't just reveal the surface behaviors of women. They exposed the unconscious, evolutionary instincts beneath them, instincts that drive female attraction, manipulation, emotional detachment, and even cruelty, not by choice, but by biological necessity. This isn't about blaming women. This is about finally seeing clearly, because once you understand how the feminine persona is formed, why it shifts, and how it hides its shadow, you'll stop playing a game you were never taught the rules to. Before we begin, I'd appreciate it if you liked the video, so you can help me continue spreading Stoic philosophy. If you haven't subscribed yet, I highly recommend you do so and activate the bell so you don't miss any future videos on Stoicism. Now, let's look at the first brutal truth, the one that turns love from a fairy tale into a battlefield. Carl Jung didn't just study the mind, he mapped it. And in that map, he found something hidden beneath the surface of every person. Something darker, more primal, more real than the image we show the world. He called it the shadow. But what shocked Jung wasn't just that men had shadows. It was the way women wore masks so perfectly, even they forgot they were acting. He wrote that the feminine persona, the version of womanhood we idolize, isn't her true self. It's a carefully constructed illusion, crafted over thousands of years for one purpose: survival. Think of the quiet, soft-spoken girl who hangs on your every word, the one who seems so kind, so open, so deeply in tune with your emotions. And then, one day, when you finally let your guard down, she turns, cold, detached, as if a switch flipped behind her eyes. That moment isn't random. It's ancient. Jung believed women unconsciously manipulate male psychology, not because they're evil, but because they've evolved to do so. In a world where physical strength couldn't protect them, they learned to influence men emotionally, to reflect what a man wants to see until he's invested enough to protect her. And when his strength falters, when he becomes vulnerable, the persona begins to dissolve. And what emerges is the shadow. You've probably lived this. You meet someone who seems nurturing. She supports your goals, wants to know your struggles, shares your dreams. But the moment your confidence cracks, the warmth starts to fade. The emotional availability dries up, and you're left wondering what you did wrong. It wasn't you. It was the persona collapsing under the pressure of your honesty. Because for her, vulnerability isn't attractive. It's threatening. It signals weakness. And weakness is dangerous to someone wired to survive at any cost. Jung called this psychological projection. Men often see their ideals in women and confuse performance with authenticity. That's why so many men fall, harder than women ever do. Because we weren't falling for her. We were falling for the mask she never knew she was wearing. Tell me in the comments, have you ever felt like a woman changed the moment you let your guard down? What did that moment teach you? Here's the truth most men never learn. You weren't rejected for being honest. You were punished for disrupting an illusion. And once you understand that, you stop chasing masks and start seeing shadows. Carl Jung once asked a question most men never dare to consider. Does she love you, or does she need you? That's where the maternal bargain comes in. It's not something she says out loud. It's not even something she's aware of. But it's there, buried deep in her biology. From the earliest tribes to modern times, a woman's survival often depended on a man's strength, his resources, his ability to shield her from the storm. And so, nature designed a system, a quiet, invisible contract, her loyalty in exchange for his utility, her affection in exchange for his strength. You felt it, that shift when you were thriving. She was glowing, supportive, affectionate. Then something changed. You lost your job. You opened up about anxiety. You stopped being the unshakable provider, and she withdrew, not in rage, not with harsh words, but with subtle indifference, a missing warmth, a delayed reply, a lack of respect you couldn't explain. That wasn't cruelty. It was instinct. Jung believed that love, especially in women, is transactional by nature. Not because women are heartless, but because evolution doesn't reward sentiment, it rewards survival. Her mind may want to love you for who you are, but her shadow asks, can he protect me? Can he provide? Can he lead? And when the answer becomes no, her desire begins to fade, even if she doesn't understand why. It's not her fault. Just like you didn't choose to be drawn to youth or beauty, she didn't choose to recoil when you cried. It's programmed. Jung saw this clearly in his private journals. He wrote that male suffering often begins when men confuse affection for unconditional love, but her love isn't unconditional, it's contextual, tied to who you are, but even more, to what you represent. That's why men who give everything emotionally, financially, physically, still find themselves discarded when they lose that edge. Because love, for her, is often a response to your value, not a reward for your effort. This truth stings. This truth, it stings because we want love to be enough. We want our presence to be the gift. But Jung warned, men who ignore this truth suffer the most. Have you ever experienced someone pulling away when you needed support the most? What did you take? From that moment, here's the takeaway. A woman can adore you deeply, but when her shadow feels unsafe, that adoration has an expiration date. And if you build your worth around her approval, you've already lost the negotiation. Not all wounds are caused by violence. Some are caused by confusion, by inconsistency, by watching someone who once adored you slowly become indifferent. Carl Jung believed that women, like men, carry a shadow, but theirs doesn't scream. It whispers, it doesn't attack, it destabilizes. He saw that many women, especially those praised for being kind and nurturing, were the ones most prone to emotional chaos. Not because they were malicious, but because their shadow thrives in instability. Jung called it the martyr's trap. When a woman senses safety, true peace, her unconscious mind panics. Why? Because chaos is how she tests strength. If you are steady, she must shake you. If you are confident, she must question it. If you are present, she must disappear, just to see if you'll chase. You've probably felt this. You worked harder to understand her, to communicate, to give more love, more time, more effort, but the more you gave, the colder she became, until your kindness became a burden, until your presence made her restless. She wasn't trying to destroy you. She was proving to herself that you could withstand her shadow, because deep down, she doesn't want a man who collapses when tested. She wants a man who remains still in the storm. But here's the brutal irony. She doesn't know she's testing you. And you don't know you're being tested, so you try harder, apologize more, give more of yourself, and in doing so, you feed the chaos. This is the emotional trap Jung warned about. The martyrdom of modern masculinity. Men give, sacrifice, break themselves in the name of love, only to be punished for becoming too available, too soft, too emotionally predictable. You become her therapist, her emotional sponge, her problem solver, and yet somehow, the more you fix, the more broken she becomes. Have you ever worked harder in a relationship only to feel like the effort pushed her further away? That's not you being unworthy. That's you stepping into the martyr's trap. Here's what Jung understood. Her shadow doesn't want to fix her. It wants to know if you'll stay grounded when she tries to break you, and if you fall apart, she'll lose respect. Not because she's cruel, but because on a level she can't explain. She doesn't feel safe with a man she can shake. The lesson: stop proving your love by sacrificing your stability. Because the more you trade strength for closeness, the more she'll run from the version of you she once admired. Carl Jung believed that power doesn't come from control. It comes from presence, from stillness, from the refusal to be emotionally hijacked. When a woman brings chaos, and she will, most men react. They argue, they explain, they beg, they chase. And with every reaction, they lose just a little more power. Jung saw this play out in thousands of clinical cases. Men broken not by violence, but by emotional confusion, by chasing the ghost of who she used to be. But here's the truth he uncovered. You don't defeat chaos by matching it. You neutralize it by becoming a mirror, still, grounded, unshakable. When she pulls away, you don't chase. When she tests you, you don't flinch. When she brings fire, you become stone. Not out of punishment, not to manipulate, but to show her and yourself that your value doesn't bend to moods, emotions, or games. This is the power of masculine stillness, the ability to remain unchanged in the face of emotional storms, to stay rooted in who you are, even when everything around you demands a reaction. You've probably noticed it before. The moment you pulled back, the dynamic shifted. The calls returned, the warmth came back, the very attention you begged for suddenly chased you. Why? Because your stillness made her feel something that chaos never can. Security, not comfort. Not softness, security. It's what every feminine instinct is wired to seek, even if she fights it on the surface. And here's the beauty of it. You don't have to fix her. You don't have to convince her. You don't have to earn her respect. You just have to stop losing yours. Jung understood that the female shadow can only manipulate what it can move. If you stay still, if you remain emotionally sovereign, the shadow bends around you, not the other way around. Tell me in the comments, have you ever taken a step back emotionally and noticed the dynamic totally shift? What changed when you stopped reacting? Here's your takeaway. Stillness isn't weakness. It's your anchor. It's your armor. It's the quiet force that turns emotional chaos into clarity. Because when you master yourself, you stop chasing validation. And when you stop chasing, you become the one who sets the terms. You've seen the illusion. You've felt the chaos. You've lived the confusion. Now it's time to reclaim what you were never taught to protect. Your power, your presence, your shadow. Carl Jung didn't reveal these truths to condemn women. He revealed them to awaken men, to remind us that masculinity isn't found in brute strength or emotional overcompensation. It's found in knowing who you are, even in the face of emotional warfare. And that starts by integrating the part of yourself you've been taught to fear, your own shadow, not the nice guy, not the overgiver, not the peacekeeper who loses himself in trying to win her love, but the man who owns his darkness, the man who doesn't flinch when tested, the man who is dangerous, not to others, but to anything that tries to control him. Here are the final 3 laws Jung would want you to remember. Law 1. Become her mirror. When she projects chaos, don't absorb it. Reflect it. Not with anger, but with stillness. The shadow only respects what it cannot manipulate. Law 2. Outsource nothing. Stop looking to her for healing, purpose, or approval. She's not your therapist. She's not your savior. And if you hand her that power, she will instinctively destroy it because she needs to know you can survive without her. Law 3. Weaponize your shadow. That anger you suppress, channel it into discipline. That loneliness you numb, turn it into focus. That fear of rejection, let it fuel your standards. The integrated man isn't a slave to his emotions, but he isn't afraid of them either. He doesn't run from his pain. He listens to it, learns from it, and lets it forge the strength no woman can shake. Because the truth is this: women don't fear weak men. They forget them. They fear men who can't be controlled. The kind of man who walks away rather than negotiates his worth. The kind of man who doesn't need permission to lead. The kind of man whose shadow doesn't destroy him, it protects him. You've been told that being dangerous is wrong. But Jung believed otherwise. A dangerous man isn't violent. He's awake. He's clear. He's free. If you found value in this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss future insights on Stoicism and self-improvement. And now I want to hear from you. What part of Jung's view on female nature shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts below. I read every comment, because this conversation isn't over, it's just beginning. And the more men who awaken to this truth, the fewer fall victim to the mask, and the more we rise, rooted in strength, guided by clarity, and finally, untouchable.